Hello, hello. I am live, my first live stream of 2026. Happy New Year. I am so excited to be here with you today. And I am going to be talking about how I set my intentions for a new year. I don't typically do the typical New Year's resolutions, but I do like to set intentions that allow me to have the best year I can possibly have. And today I'm going to go through that with you. I see a few people have joined. Let's do a sound check. If you are listening live and you can hear me, please type in where you are joining from and what you're most excited about hearing from me today. Uh, when Someday Comes says hello and Happy New Year, and Rider Skater says hello. All right. I'm going to wait for the sound check to come in to make sure that people are able to hear me. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, how my last year went and how that informs what I am doing or what intentions I am setting for this year. And last year was a busy year for me. And toward the end of it, I was feeling like I was drinking from a fire hose. And I said, Patricia, you can do something differently so that you can feel a little less stressed. And so that's what my intentions are going to help me do this year. All right. So we've got When Someday Comes is from Dallas, Texas. That's where my brother lives. And Orlando, Florida, rider skater. And this Betty, this Betty loves flowers. This Betty loves flowers, loud and clear. Great. I am so glad you're here. Once again, Happy New Year. 2020. 26 is going to be really amazing. And I also want to talk to you about, the way that I set my intentions. It's more about the things that I want to stop doing, like the things that made me feel a little bit overwhelmed last year, the things that I want to start doing, because anytime we stop doing something, there's a void. And if you don't have something to fill it, then you will probably continue doing some of the things you want to stop. And then some of the things that I started last year or have been doing for a while, and I want to continue doing because I'm seeing progress or they make me feel good or whatever the case may be. So that is where I'm going to start. Can you let me know in the comments if you set New Year's resolutions or intentions, or perhaps you set a word for your year? Let me know that in the comments. So I want to start off with the things that I'm going to let go of, the things I'm going to stop doing. And as I mentioned, I'm going to stop overdoing. I'm going to stop overbooking myself and thinking that, oh, I have more time to do these things that I actually do. I think one of the reasons that last year started to feel a little bit overwhelming is I have this idea that things are going to take less time than they actually will take. And so I bite off more than I can chew, and then I start to feel it in the end. And so that is one of the things I'm going to stop doing. I'm going to stop overdoing. I'm going to stop overscheduling. And I'm going to be more thoughtful about how long something's going to take. And I'm going to share how I'm going to approach that in the things I'm going to start doing. I'm going to, and some of these things are still kind of fluid because there's some things that I really want to do, and I'm not sure how much time they're going to take. And I need to kind of weigh that with all of my priorities. All right. Another thing that I'm going to stop doing is I'm going to stop watching so much YouTube and stop being on social media so much. I notice that when I do that, I have less time to do other things, but I also don't feel as satisfied with myself. I don't feel as happy with myself. And I think last year was a year that I started to be on less on Facebook, and I saw a change, but I feel like I watch way too much YouTube and some things that just aren't necessarily positive. And it's kind of one of these things that I see myself doing it, but it's, is bordering on an addiction. But I'm going to stop that this year, and I'm going to share how I'm going to um, stop that or work to stop that in the things that I'm going to start doing going forward. All right. Let's see who's in the comments. Got some more people joining. We got Miss Sierra from San Diego. She can hear loud and clear. Jesse, hi, Jess. Happy New Year to you. Yes. And Jesse says she wants to prioritize self-care and wellness. Yes, I think that for me is at the base or the bottom of this idea of stopping overdoing. Because when I have so much to do and I start to feel stressed, that takes away from my sense of well-being. And at the bottom of it, I just want to feel better, and I want to feel less stressed. So a self-care and wellness is a great one. Miss Sierra says, I use the power of intentions and visualization of my goals. Being a caretaker for my dad for years, I need to put more focus on myself. Yes, yes. Being a caretaker is so very challenging. It's rewarding, but it's challenging too. And it is imperative that you take care of yourself so that you can be there for your dad. Yeah, absolutely. And we've got When Someday Comes says this year's resolution, move into Lyon, France in March 2026, hopefully successfully. Yes, love that. That's so exciting. And March is just about here. We're January 1st, so you're just a couple of months away. Congratulations on that. All right. Alan Winston, 5157. Hello from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Keep up the great work. Your channel helps me and more people here in Albuquerque. Thank you. I am so glad. I'm so glad you're here live, and thank you so much for sharing that with me. Share one more resolution from at CFEF86. Resolution to be more mindful in my spending. Yeah, that's a good one too. That's a good one too. All right. So I've covered the things that I'm going to stop doing. I'm going to stop overdoing. I'm going to and overscheduling myself, and I'm going to stop being on social media so much and watching so much YouTube. All right, because of the energy drain and not feeling really good about myself when I spend too much time on those things. So what are the things that I am planning to start doing? As I said, if you stop doing something and you don't have something to replace it with, you're probably going to not be so successful in stopping doing that thing, because that void needs to be filled somehow, and the easiest way is an old habit. So for me, in order to stop taking on so much and stop thinking that, oh, well, I can do that. It's only going to take me this amount of time. I am going to be more intentional about the projects that I am looking at. And I'm going to be looking at it from a perspective of how much time do I think this is going to take? And this goes back to my project management days. How much time do I think this is going to take? And then knowing that things typically take longer than you anticipate, adding some buffer time into that so that I have a more realistic estimate. But in addition to that, I'm going to also be looking at my calendar and saying, okay, yeah, I want to do this thing. But it's January and I already have a lot going on in January and in February too. Maybe this is something for early to mid-spring and kind of plot things on my calendar in that way versus saying, oh, it's a new year. I can do this and I can do that and I can do this and I can do that. And then not really getting a whole lot done. And this is really kind of the basis of what I'm working on with on January 10th. I am doing a Women Rising Roundtable. It's how to create your reinvention plan, and it's really it's a workshop, and it's about picking one or two projects you want to work on and breaking those down into smaller tasks so that you can work to accomplish them in about a 3-month time period. And then you can move on to the next. And that is taking place, as I said, January 10th. And so if you're interested in that, you can go to thecouragecatalyst.com/roundtable and you can get your spot. There are only a handful of spots left. So if you're interested, be sure to sign up for that. Let me see if I can't find that here. There you go. All right. So, but that's one of the things that I'm going to really embrace is looking at the thing that I want to do, assessing how long I think it's going to take, adjusting that and adding a little bit more time, and then saying, okay, what do I have got going on in the next couple of months? Can I fit it in the next couple of months? Or is this something for toward the end of next year? And one of the things that I really want to do, and I have to really dig down and do this assessment, maybe even start working on this to kind of get a sense of how much time it would take, is I want to do a presentation for Project Management Institute France, and in June. Now, this is something that I would have to apply for and be accepted to, but assuming that I applied and I did get accepted, that would take a lot of work because I'd have to create the presentation. I'd have to do it all in French. I'd have to practice that speech in French. I'd have to really get that down, and that will take a lot of time. Doing a presentation, doing a speech in English takes a lot of time, and so it's something I really want to do. But I'm like, oh, do I have the time? Do I have the bandwidth to do it? And toward the end of last year, when I was feeling overwhelmed, I said, oh no, Patricia, this is not something you can do, even though it's mid-year, that maybe it's something for 2027. But just yesterday, I got a message on LinkedIn last year after I attended the Project Management Institute France meeting in Antibes. I was asked to write a blog post about project management, all in French, and I did that. And on this message on LinkedIn, the person whose blog it was thanked me. He said, thank you. You know, your article was one of the top 3 most read articles. And so I got that yesterday, and that made me think, oh, Patricia, maybe what you have to say in this project management forum is something that really needs to be heard. And maybe that this is a sign that this is something that you need to work to fit in or see if you can fit in. And so in the next couple of days, I'm gonna do an assessment. I think I'm gonna think about what my topic would be and kind of start outlining that and kind of getting a sense of if I really think I can do it or not. Because presentation, speaking, getting back on a speaking circuit, something I truly want to do. And I had thought, oh yeah, I'll do that in English, maybe find a TEDx in English, but I don't know. So it's not easy to prioritize and really be intentional about this, but I'm going to be, because self-care, wellness is really important to me. So, and that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to be thinking through, how long it's going to take, overestimating how long it's going to take, or trying to overestimate how long it's going to take, look at my calendar and see if it works. And if it doesn't, it's something for maybe not this year, but maybe next year. All right. So that's one thing that I'm going to start. I am going to also, for the social media, right? I said I'm going to stop being on social media so much. I'm going to stop watching so much YouTube. I am going to read more, and I want to read more physical books because I feel like when I'm in front of a screen, there's something that is sapping my soul a lot of times. And so when I sit down and I have a book in hand, there's something about, a physical book that really makes the difference. And so that's what I'm planning to do. And so I'm planning to read every single day, whether it's a page or a chapter in a book. And I want to read English books and I want to read French books. I'm currently reading right now this book about Josephine Baker. And it's really good. It's got some beautiful pictures in it. It's fantastic. And it's really helping me to continue to improve my French. But I also want to read books in English and stories in English, because as I continue to write my memoir, when I'm reading stories, that helps me to write better. So that's what I'm going to do to help me to be off of social media. And I think that a way that I'm going to hold myself accountable is I like to read at nighttime because it helps me sleep, but I don't get a whole lot written. And so that is going to be my go-to spot. However, in the morning, if I feel like I have time to add that to a morning routine, then I will read some in the morning too, because I'm fresher and it's easier. And it's easier to read French when I'm fresher. So that's where I'm going to slot that in. And I think that the other thing that I'm going to start is doing my daily wins. When I am on my group coaching call every day, every time that we have a call, I start out with what win do you have for me? Because a lot of times we can get bogged down in, feeling like we're not progressing or we're not achieving anything. And so I want to start journaling my daily wins, but along with that, I want to journal how the day felt to me, right? Because as we were talking earlier about self-care and wellness, that's a gauge. If I feel stressed or if I feel disappointed in myself, that's a gauge. Okay, well, why is that? Oh, well, because I found myself scrolling on social media more than I wanted to, and that's really not what I want to do. So checking in and saying, okay, well, tomorrow is going to be different because I want to feel differently. So that's another thing that I'm going to start, the journaling of my daily wins along with an assessment of how am I feeling and why. All right. So those are a couple of things that habits I'm going to start changing. One is not overdoing, not taking on too much. The second is to read more. On the level of projects, this is a big year for me because not only is my 4-year carte de séjour for my residency here going to expire in September, I am eligible starting in September to apply for French citizenship. Now, recently, I think they've changed it. So I thought I would be eligible the beginning of this year, but I think they changed it and I need to show that I have 5 years of professional work here in France before I can do that. In September, will mark the 5-year mark for me. So in terms of immigration and my immigration status, I am going to apply for a 10-year resident card. And so that will be slotted in. I'll start preparing the paperwork for that in the May-June timeframe. In addition, I'm going to pull together the paperwork for my French citizenship in that same time frame as well. And so that's why I say this is a big year. So in terms of the habits that I've spoken about, I'm going to start that in January. In terms of the immigration, my immigration status, I'm going to start pulling that stuff together in May, June timeframe. However, for citizenship, and maybe even now for the 10-year resident card, there for citizenship, I'm sure, I know for sure there is a test. I'm not 100% sure for the 10-year resident card, but they've made some changes and they've made things a little more challenging. But they're a test about French history, the culture, and things of that nature. And so in the March timeframe, I'm going to start looking at the citizenship booklet that they have and start studying that structured in a structured way, breaking it down and looking at, what I want to accomplish each week, and start to commit to memory, because I think there's a lot and I don't want to get to the point where, okay, I've applied, my paperwork has been accepted, and now I get to go to the meeting and I'm not prepared. So that is something I'm going to start a little bit sooner than pulling the paperwork together. But yes, so I'm excited about that, a little bit nervous as well, but yeah, it's time. It is time. And I already spoke about this other project, and that is, speaking, right? And so whether it's a TEDx talk that I find that I can do in English, which is challenging here in France, there are some venues that do it, or whether it's that Project Management Institute France speech in French, I do want to do at least one speaking engagement this year. Now, that's really kind of up in the air, because the things that I'm going to continue, that I'm going to jump into in a minute, one of those things might lend itself to my doing more public speaking. And you're going to hear about that in a minute. All right, I'm going to check in with the chat. I've been talking a lot, and I want to see what's going on in the chat. See. Hey, Penny. I remember, of course I remember you. And you know what I remember about you? In the break room at work, if you had a hamburger and you had a square piece of cheese, you would fold the ends of the cheese up so that it wouldn't melt over the sides. I remember that about you. How are you? So glad you could join me. What a blast from the past. Let's see who else we've got going on. What we've got going on in the chat. All right. Here we go. This is Betty Loves Flowers. Says, reading is always on my list. I do self-help, improvement, expanding knowledge in the morning, and easy to read in the evening. Yes, right, because you're a little tired, and it's more friction at night. So maybe that's what I'll do is, the French in the morning, and it might not be a whole lot because I might have a lot going on, and then something lighter in the evening. I like that idea. Thank you. At Jesse says, I used to read an inspirational book each year. I'm going to the bookstore to do this again. Good, good. Does anybody have any suggestions on good inspirational books? Drop that in the comments. Love the idea of denoting feelings daily. It's something that I don't do, but at the end of a week, if I'm not, honoring something, or I'm doing something that just isn't what I need to be doing, I feel it and it doesn't feel good. So if I can catch it early, yeah. I hope I'm not freezing anymore. I am dog sitting, and I'm in the country, but the internet has typically been really good here, but maybe more people are on the internet because maybe they have off. But hopefully I am not freezing anymore. Let me take this off. What other comments do we have? Laura S8674 is reading Atomic Habits right now. Yes, that's a good read. It's a good. I read that, and it's a game changer. Good for you. Good for you. Keep reading. Now, if you are joining live, or if you're watching the replay, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. It helps people see it, and I want as many people to see my process as possible because I think it can help them. All right. For me to make more time to exercise, it helps clear the mind and promotes meditations. Yeah, exercise is wonderful too. All right. Yeah. Like and subscribe. Miss Sierra 2222 has me covered. Thank you. And I see some good, some book recommendations in the chat. So I'm going to move on to what I'm going to continue, because it's not all about just stopping something that's not working for me or starting something new. You know, I've got a lot going on already. What are those things that I want to continue doing? So morning meditation. I wake up in the morning and I will listen to a 10-minute guided meditation, and that kind of sets the tone for my day. And I've gotten a little bit off track at the end of last year, and I am recommitting to doing that on a daily basis because it just really sets the tone for the day. Likewise, I think adding to the end of my day the reading, but then also something that will set the tone for me to have a good night's sleep, and that could be another guided meditation. But definitely in the morning, that is something I'm going to continue doing. I haven't been doing the meditation at night. That could be something I might start doing, but morning meditation is something I'm going to recommit to on a daily basis versus a haphazard basis as I'd been doing toward the end of this year. You know, life happens. I'm human. I'm going to also continue all the work that I've been doing with my business. I do a lot, right? I've got this YouTube channel, and I have been posting one YouTube video, a recorded video, a week. And that is a heavy lift because of all the editing. So at the end of last year, I said, I'm going to do 2 videos, recorded videos a week, and at least one live stream video on my YouTube channel, but potentially 2. And I've already got a second live stream for January lined up. One of the members of my Carefree Expat Incubator program, Tolu, who lives in Germany, is going to tell us about her life in Germany and recently getting permanent residency there. So that's going to happen on January 22nd. It's a Thursday. So mark your calendars. It's already on my YouTube channel. So if you're interested in that, be sure to set a reminder so you don't miss that live. Okay? So I'm going to continue my work with my business. I'm going to, last year and the year before, I hired an intern for May. So now's the time for me to start interviewing people, putting the post out and interviewing people. Those 2 interns were amazing. It helped because I had somebody to help me with my social media, but also I started working in French. You know, I work in English with my clients, but my interns are French, and they speak English, they write well in English, but our meetings were held completely in French, and that really helped me to move forward. So I'm going to continue that. So hopefully I'll be able to find another good intern for this spring. So I'm going to continue that, and I am going to continue my coaching, right? That's the heart of what I do. I do one-on-one coaching, so I'm going to continue those sessions. I do my information sessions, 30-minute sessions where if you're moving to France and you've got questions for me that you'd like to ask and have answered by me based on my experience here, you can book one of those calls. I also have my Carefree Expat Incubator program, group coaching and mentoring program that is, you sign up before you make your move abroad. And then once you've made your move abroad, you still have support with the group and with my coaching. That is something that I'm going to continue offering. And along with that, there is the summit every fall. That continues. And the Women Rising Roundtables. Last year in February, I had my very first Women Rising Roundtable. And Women Rising Roundtables are a forum, of 9 women who get together, and there's a subject, whether it's, how do you make friends, or how can I get better at, having boundaries and saying no, or as this month's roundtable is, how do you create a plan to reinvent myself and move a project that I've had for a while forward when I don't know where to start or I don't know how to get traction, right? I'm going to continue doing those because they have picked up steam, and the interaction and the engagement in those is amazing. It feels really amazing. So I'm going to continue doing those. So if you're interested in any of those, you can go to my website and you can learn more about that, thecouragecatalyst.com. And do I have a banner for that? I don't know that I do, but thecouragecatalyst.com, you can check it out there. All right. So I'm going to continue building my business and doing those things that have helped me to get to this point. And I spoke a little bit about earlier that, I want to do some speaking engagements, and that maybe it's a TEDx talk in English, maybe it's the Project Management Institute France speech if I apply and get accepted, or maybe it's something else that I have in the hopper. Now, if you've been following me, I've been toiling, writing my 3rd book. And this time last year, I was like so disappointed in myself because I'd had a goal to have my 2nd draft of my book completed by the end of 2020. I'm losing track of time. 2024. And I didn't do that. I finished it the end of January. And then I thought, okay, this is done. I'm going to start pitching literary agents because I would like to have this book traditionally published. Well, turns out I finished the 2nd draft the end of January of 2025, a month late. And then I gave it to a first reader and I started reading through it, and I realized, oh yeah, it's a draft, all right, but it's not a good one. And so I was like, oh, this needs some work. And so all of last year, I worked on it and made it stronger, and finished the 3rd draft by November, middle of November. I was so excited to have that finished. I have a copy of it here that I've been going through, Leaving Home, Finding Home, a Black woman's story of starting over in France. And I am just about finished reading through this 3rd version, and the beginning was great. The middle still needed some work. The end is easier to read. So I anticipate finishing reading this 3rd version and having the 4th version completed by January 7th. I'm going to put a line in the sand. And then it's go time for me to start pitching to literary agents, because I think it's really solid now. I've done a lot of work on it. Feels really good to me. And with that, getting a literary agent, getting a book deal, right? All of that may allow me to do some speaking engagements. So So that's something that I'm going to continue doing. I'm going to continue working through this. I'm going to start pitching agents and get this thing published. um, and the final thing that I don't think that I'm going to do in 2026, I wrote it down, but I just think I might start working toward this in 2026. Um, but I don't think that I'm going to actually complete it. And that is take the DELF C1 level French exam. Now, last year, March of last year, I sat for the DELF B2 exam and I passed that. And I feel like I want to continue moving forward with the language, and signing up, committing to taking an exam is one way to do it, because unless you like failing exams, you're going to sit down and do the work and you're going to study. And that's what happened for me last spring. So I was thinking, oh, yeah, I think I'd like to do C1 this year, but I think that what I can commit to doing, or what I want to commit to doing, is the November timeframe, start studying for the C1 exam, and then maybe sit for it in March of 2027. So there may be some work involved this year, the November timeframe, as I talked about earlier. I want to make sure that as I'm taking on things, that there is space on my calendar. And so, mid-year, I'm working on my immigration stuff. The beginning of this year, it's the new habits. It's, getting the intern. And then toward the end of the year, maybe there will be time for me to sit down and to study for the DELF C1 exam. So I'm not committing to taking the exam this year, but working on studying for it. All right. So those are the things that I'm going to continue doing. Let me check in on the comments. Hi, Nancy. Nancy Kirby. Your father and Uncle Robert are so proud. I hope so. I am, as you say this, I am on the chapter that where I speak about meeting Uncle Bob for the first time, who Uncle Bob really inspired me to actually make this move abroad. I'll tell you the story very briefly. When I was planning to move to France in 2017, I was doing the work to get there, but there was something that made me feel a little bit hesitant. And that was that I didn't necessarily know if my mom or dad would be so supportive of me in, making this big leap, quitting my job, moving to France. Like, it just seemed risky. And my mom always would say, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. And so that was like in the background of my mind. But when I told my Uncle Bob that I was planning to do this thing, he was very supportive. He's like, oh, wonderful. And I said to him, I said, I don't understand why you are so supportive. You're of my parents' generation, and I don't know that they would be as supportive of me as you are. Maybe they would have been, but I don't know that. And he says, oh, why do you say that? And I said, well, because my mom always would say, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, right? Having that security and safety. And he said to me, I've heard that expression before too, but I prefer nothing ventured, nothing gained. And that helped me to shift my energy and my mindset around what I was doing, because it was almost like permission. I didn't need my Uncle Bob's permission. I was doing this thing anyway, but it allowed me to move forward with a more positive energy. And so there's a chapter about that in the book. So glad you can join live, Nancy, and thanks for your comment. Um, yes, morning meditations and setting that, starting off with a positive in the morning, I think is so important. Before getting out of bed, I say what I'm grateful for and thankful for. I love it. Hi, Dion. So glad you could join us, even if it's late. I know you're on the West Coast, so New Year's Eve, but you're here. You're better late than never. Ah, and you want to commit to avoiding sleeping in and turning off the TV and phone and going to bed at a decent time. Yes, because that sets you up for not sleeping in, right? And it's a habit that, if you, once you start doing that, you will definitely, you'll feel it, right? I was talking earlier, and I'm not sure if you heard this, about how I want to kind of check in with myself on a daily basis as to how I felt, how I was feeling that day, and why, right? Oh, I'm feeling a little bit, not happy with myself or content with myself. Oh, why is that? Well, because I spent 3 hours on social media when I said I wasn't going to do that anymore, right? And so that is a reset. Okay, well, tomorrow is a new day, and I'm not going to do that so that I can feel better. And so I think that that could be something that you could do as you assess. Well, am I sleeping in? Am I staying up late and waking up early, but not feeling the way I want to feel waking up early? Great, thank you, Dion. Still freezing? I don't know what's going on. Well, at least I think I've got the last couple of live streams. I had it in the portrait mode. The software had changed, and I didn't understand the settings, and so I was in the portrait mode. So I think I got the landscape down, but I'm sorry I'm freezing on you. Let's see what else we got. Thank you. Your goals for the upcoming year are excellent. Thank you. I mean, there's so many more things that I could have put on my list, and I just know that things are going to take longer, that other things might even come up that, oh yeah, I want to take advantage of that. And so if I jam too much in, I'm going to feel like I'm obligated to do that. Because one of the things for me, I think that makes it more challenging too, is integrity is a really high value for me, and being in integrity with myself, my word is my bond, is really important to me. And so if I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, it doesn't feel good. um, However, one thing that I have learned is that sometimes our priorities change, and when they do, it's important to be able to move away from that and into the thing that is more important to you now. And the way that I do it is, if it's just something that is something I have committed to for myself, like say for example, when a couple of years ago when I said, "Oh, I'm going to be learning Spanish." And I took Spanish classes. I downloaded the Pimsleur method for Spanish, and I was listening to that on my walk every day, and I was really excited about that. Yeah, that was something that I really wanted to do. And then last year, when I had to, put my head down and study for that DELF exam, I couldn't do both. And so I let the Spanish drop. And in the way that I was able to do that in a way that felt good to me was that I checked in with myself to make sure that I wasn't just giving up on something um, unintentionally. It was with intention, and I recognized that my priorities had changed, and that was okay. And I moved on from that. But it wasn't something that I didn't address with myself. And I think that that's really important to know that, yeah, sometimes priorities change. And, if you've committed to something to yourself or to somebody else, is to have that conversation with yourself or with that other person to say, hey, Something's got to give, and this is where I am now, and that has made all the difference in my being able to take some things off my plate. So yeah, really important. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat. All right. Oh, okay. So, that is my start, stop, continue. I don't know where I learned this. This is not something that I created, but it's something that has really helped me to um, stay on track, to not necessarily do things that seem like they're things that are important to me, but at the end of the day, they're not. If there's something I need to stop, it's because it's not supporting me, and then there are things that I need to replace that with so that I can feel better about myself. All right. So, what questions do you have for me? If you've got any questions, be sure to put them in the chat. Put a Q in front of them. I want to just share once again that on January 10th, I'm hosting that Women Rising Roundtable, how to create your reinvention plan and actually start creating it. It is going to be where there's going to be some pre-work. So in the pre-work, you're going to sit down and you're going to look at your key core values, the beliefs that are important to you. And assessing that, then you'll be able to better decide on what one project, or maybe two, that you want to work on during our session. And then during that session, it's a working session, we're going to create a plan for you for your project. Okay, what's the project? What are the big milestones that you need to achieve and complete in order to complete your project? And then what are the smaller tasks that fall under each of those milestones that you need to tackle in order to reach each milestone? And by doing that, you break down this bigger project, this bigger endeavor, into something that you can kind of see yourself doing little by little, plotting that on your calendar and creating a why for doing that based on your core values that will allow you to maintain your motivation. Because I think a lot of times, okay, maybe even if you have a plan, you lose steam because you're not really sure why you're doing it. Once you create an idea or a project and it's based on something that is really vital to you, a core value or a belief that is important for you, then you can stay the course. And so that's what's happening. And it's going to be an amazing event. There are a handful of slots, as I said earlier, that are available. If you are interested, be sure to go to thecouragecatalyst.com/roundtable and sign up today, because this will fill up. I ran this workshop last year. It was excellent. Somebody who joined the live stream last month said that she joined, and she's in project management, and she said she learned a lot. So that was like a really high testimonial for me. So be sure to join that. Let's see if there are any questions before I wrap this up. Okay, a couple questions. When Someday Came asks, do you have any other travel plans for 2026? Maybe I might be going to Paris in the February timeframe, but that's not set in stone. Just for an interview, but that's, as I said, it's not set in stone. Other than that, I don't have any travel plans lined up. I do a summit with my Carefree Expat Incubator program every fall. And last year in October, we were in Avignon. But I think that my group wants to have it in my town, so I might not be traveling for that. Hopefully, a literary agent will pick me up. Hopefully, a publishing house will pick me up. So that may mean a trip back to the States. So, but as of now, I don't have any travel plans scheduled. So, yes. So to determine your core values, yes, it's covered in the pre-work for January 10th. Have you signed up? Are you coming? There may be some resources online. If you Google core values or core values assessment, you might be able to find one. But yes, it's going to be in the pre-work, my core values assessment, and then we'll debrief that a bit during the workshop, and that's going to underlie or help you choose what project you want to use for your reinvention. All right. All right, let's see. Okay, I'm losing track of where the comments are. All right. Oh, Elizabeth. Hello, Elizabeth. Happy New Year. All right. Thanks for joining, Elizabeth. Let's see. I know there were some other questions here. All right, here's a good one. Rider Skater asks, how does it feel to be living in the same town in France after all these years? After gaining citizenship, would you consider moving to a different area of France? Yes, so I've been in my village. I've been in France for 8 years. I've been in my village for 7. It's incredible for me to be saying that. And I absolutely still love it. When I was on my trip to Avignon in October, which is a lovely city, when I got back to Serres, I recognized for the first time one of the things that really draws me to my town. And it was that when I was in Avignon, it's a beautiful town, as I said, but the buildings were just kind of a slate gray, all of them. But when I was walking back, tired, with dragging my luggage, rolling my luggage behind me, when I got to the center of town and I saw the colorful shutters and doors, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I really like. That's one of the things I really like about my town is that there's this color, this liveliness in the color on the buildings. But I absolutely still love it because it's the perfect. It's got some restaurants. It's got some stores. I can walk to the grocery store. They have a little grocery store in town, and then I can walk to the grocery store that's a little further out in about 20 minutes. And I can, be in nature in 5 minutes. I can be walking through the foothills of the Pyrenees, and it's just so beautiful. Like, I absolutely love it. So it feels amazing to still be living in the same town. I really found a good place when I found Serres. And after gaining citizenship, would I consider moving to a different area of France? Yeah, potentially, but at this point, I have no desire to. There's nothing that's calling me to say, oh, this place over here would be better. One thing, yeah, I absolutely wouldn't do it before, just because I feel like my prefecture knows me. Um, and so I just, wouldn't up and leave now, but I don't have any intention of leaving afterwards either. So good question. What what are the round table limits? Are you talking about how many people, how many women? There are 9 women. There are 9 slots total, so there's a spot for 9 women. If you are asking for other limits, let me know. This one is typically are 2.5 hours. This one is 3 hours, just so that we make sure that everybody has enough time to get their projects made. If you had another meaning for your question, please let me know. All right. All right. For the Miss Nahualita, for the reinvention roundtable session, is it for personal development, professional, etc.? It's what you want, right? It's if you have something that's professional that you want to work on, then you can choose that. If it's something on a more personal level, you can work on that. It's really up to you. And I think the key though is that it's something that is truly important to you, because that is going to make the difference as to whether or not you're going to follow through, if you're going to be committed, if you're going to stay motivated, and which is why we do the core values activity beforehand. Good question. Thank you. Okay. This is an interesting one. At CFEF86, can you talk more about having a career in project management? I'm looking for a career change and project management sounds appealing. What sounds appealing to you about it? I was a project manager from 2003 to 2018. And I can share what was appealing to me about it. For me, I like organizing. I like creating, right? There's an idea of creation, because in the beginning, when you start a project, it doesn't exist, right? And then when you end the project, you've got this thing that you've completed. So I enjoy that. And one of the things that I found after being a project manager for about a year and a half, was that I liked the idea of the organizing and planning for the project to come to fruition, for the project launch or rollout. And I also liked that moment when you do roll out, and you thought of everything, and there was something that maybe slips through the cracks or you didn't think about, and it doesn't quite go as planned. And I like that because that allows me to think on my feet and figure out a solution so that we don't have to roll back, or that so that the project can finish strong. And so those are the things that I like about project management. You may want to, there are Project Management Institute is the body that will grant the project management certifications, such as PMP, the PMP exam, but that's something for down the line. There are different kinds of project managers. There's technical, there are business project managers. So it's a big question. If you have something more specific around project management or becoming a project manager, let me know and I can answer that. But hopefully that was helpful to you. Um, all right, let's see. Looking back on 2025, are there any regrets or mistakes that you made um, as you make these plans for, I believe you mean 2026? Um, I think that I just spoke to the idea that I always think I can do more than I can, or that it's going to take less time. For example, my book, right? I was so excited about that second draft. And here it is a year later, and I'm reading through the third draft and just about ready to have the fourth draft done, and haven't started pitching agents, because it was my intention of January 2025 to be pitching literary agents. And not that it's a regret, but that the idea that it would take less time for me to get the version, a solid version of my manuscript together, that was something that I now recognize that I can underestimate the amount of time something's going to take. Having said that, I don't regret that it took me the entire 2025 to get my book to where it is today, because if I was pitching, that second draft, nobody would pick it up. Now it has a much better chance of my finding an agent, has a much better chance of being traditionally published. So it's not a mistake, but I recognize that I can underestimate timelines. Just A asks, can you recommend a French for beginners language learning app? I I swear by the Pimsleur method. I swear by the Pimsleur method. Now, the Pimsleur method, and let me see if I have a link to that. Here we go. The Pimsleur method is how I started to learn French when I was in the States. It starts out, they have five levels of French, and each level has 30 lessons in it. So you start at level one, at the very basics, and each lesson is 30 minutes. And what I did, the way I worked it, was on my morning walk, I would put my headphones on, I would go walking, and I would repeat the prompts after the speaker. Starts out with a 1 minute story, right, that you listen to, and you start to kind of understand what's going on. And through the course of the 29 minutes that are left, you start to recreate parts of that story. You start speaking, right? And the reason I swear by it is because it's not it. I guess the question also is, what is your end game? Do you want to be able to speak it? Because Pimsleur for speaking is really good. Um, because it makes you speak the words aloud. And when you do it, you start to become more comfortable speaking. I think a lot of people struggle. Some people will tell me, oh, well, I can read so much better than I can speak it, or, oh, I can understand French so much better than I can speak it, because there's this hesitation to actually enunciate the words. But for me, Pimsleur kind of helped me to break free of that, or break out of that, and just start speaking. So the other piece of the Pimsleur method is there's the time-spaced repetition, which means that in the first two lessons, maybe you're talking about the same things. In the third lesson, maybe you start to add some new things. The fourth lesson, maybe you get called back to something you learned in the first one or two lessons, so that you're reinforcing. And so when you get to lesson 10 and you haven't spoken about this word or this expression for 5 lessons, but they ask you to say, that word or expression, it's there, right? It's just kind of like magic. It's like, oh, I didn't know I knew that, but it's that time space repetition. So I absolutely love it. One thing that wasn't so good for me that was the reading and the writing. When I got to France, I recognized I was illiterate. I could understand slow spoken French. I could speak. I could communicate. You know, at a basic level, but I had the confidence, but my reading and writing weren't there. And so, if you're looking for something for that, I don't have a recommendation. But if you want to start speaking, get more comfortable speaking, start to not feel so embarrassed or afraid to speak a foreign language, I highly recommend Pimsleur. All right, let's see. Where are we? How often do I write? Well, so um, it's daily now. It hasn't always been daily. And once I'm done with this manuscript, it might not be daily, but the writing it was just something that I was like, if I'm going to get this done, if I'm going to get this draft done, I'm going to have to go in. I'm going to have to rewrite, make some edits, and doing that on a daily basis was the thing. Getting up, that's the first thing I did. Committing to an hour, hour and a half, sometimes more, depending. Um, once the manuscript is done, um, I don't know that it'll be every day. It's kind of weird because in some ways writing every day is great because it keeps the juices flowing. But then when I don't have that goal, I can let that slip away, and then I kind of lose that traction. Somebody else likes Pimsleur. Pimsleur method is awesome. When does expat stop filing state income taxes? This is from Conan NYC. I will always have to file a federal tax return. My expat software asks if I, there's some questions, and I think it suggests that I continue to file my taxes, my state taxes. And that's a question that I don't know that I can really answer, but I still file my federal because I have to, and I still file my Virginia state taxes. All right. Not sure that that answers your question, but that's the best I can do. All right. Time for one more question about cost of living from Rider Skater. The cost of living is going through the roof in America. Are you experiencing hyperinflation in the south of France? I hear the cost of living in France is half the cost in America. So one thing that I noticed that has gone up is energy prices here. And of course, it's wintertime, so and I live in a drafty apartment. So that's one thing that I noticed that has increased. Some food prices have increased. My rent, knock on wood, has remained stable. So I'm not experiencing, huge increases in my rent. Um, I don't know if it's half the cost of living in America. What I can say is that with my business, if I were to have to live off of what I'm making with my business in the United States, I don't think that I would be able to, right? I think I would have to go get a job. And so that speaks to the fact that the cost of living for me is more affordable. Um, is it half? I don't know. I mean, there's some things that are more expensive. There's some things that are less expensive. Um, and I haven't been back to the States in almost 2 years now. So I've heard that the cost of living is going up. So it's hard for me to even kind of put my head around, what actually is going on in the States. So hopefully that answers your question. All right. Uh, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Yes, you make it the best it can be too. Happy New Year to everybody. It's we often, look at the new year as like maybe even the only time to make changes or to start new habits. But we can do this at any time of the year. But this is make this make get this year off to a good start, and know that anytime that you are ready to make a change, you can absolutely do it. Remember, it was 2012, March of 2012, I decided I was going to do my weight loss thing. It wasn't January. It was, I don't even know why I decided, but it was like, okay, it's time to make a change. So let, this new year be an inspiration, but also know that you've got the power to change whenever you are ready. All right. All right. So that wraps it up. That's how I set um, my intentions for a new year. That's my process. I am so glad that you were able to join me live. If you are watching the replay, thank you for joining me on the replay. And I look so forward to either seeing you at a round table, to seeing you on the next live. Be sure to, and I don't know if I've got that. Let me grab the link to the YouTube that Tulu will be doing on the 22nd. I want to put that in the chat so that you have that studio, and so that you can set a reminder, because that's going to be an amazing live stream. Tulu has accomplished a whole lot in her 4 years in Germany. Let's do this. So that is a link to the the January 22nd live stream. All right. All right. There you go. Thank you, everybody, for joining me live. And I will see you again next time. Take care.